Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're going to dive straight into the fascinating and honestly sometimes super frustrating psychology of why our brains frequently fool us into overestimating our own intelligence. I mean, have you ever caught yourself feeling absolutely 100% certain about a fact or a situation, only to find out later that you were just entirely wrong? Yeah, we've all been there. It happens to the best of us. Today, we're exploring exactly why your brain plays this trick on you and why recognizing this little cognitive optical illusion is actually one of the absolute smartest things you can do.
So, here's our roadmap for today. We'll be hitting 1. The illusion of confidence. 2. The Dunning-Kruger effect. 3. The brain's hidden shortcuts. 4. The social media trap. And finally, 5. The power of humility.
All right, let's jump into part 1, the illusion of confidence.
Picture that one coworker or maybe a friend, or, just someone fiercely arguing in an online comment section. Have you ever watched someone act with absolute, unwavering certainty while sharing information that is just completely incorrect? They don't pause, they don't show an ounce of doubt, they're just holding court, totally convinced of their own expertise on a subject they clearly know nothing about. It is baffling to watch, right? You just sit there wondering, how on earth can someone be so intensely confident while being so factually wrong? Now, you might just write this off as pure arrogance, but it's actually not. It's a well-documented psychological flaw that affects pretty much everyone at some point. See, the human brain has this strange glitch where it genuinely cannot see its own ignorance. When we lack knowledge in a specific area, we don't just fail to understand the topic, we actually fail to realize how much we don't understand.
Which brings us right to section 2, the Dunning-Kruger effect.
Let's rewind to 1999. Psychologists David Dunning and Justin Kruger were fascinated by this completely wild news story. A guy named MacArthur Wheeler had confidently robbed 2 banks in Pittsburgh in broad daylight without a mask. When the police showed up at his door that night, because obviously they just looked at the security footage, he was genuinely shocked. His defense? He had covered his face in lemon juice. Because lemon juice can be used as invisible ink, he literally believed the chemical properties of the juice made his face invisible to the cameras. I know, it sounds ridiculous, but this extreme, almost comical lack of self-awareness led Dunning and Kruger to formally study how we judge our own abilities. And what they found was incredibly fascinating and honestly, a little bit humbling. They discovered a cognitive bias we now call the Dunning-Kruger effect. And the core of it is this. The exact same knowledge required to perform a task well is the exact same knowledge you need to accurately evaluate your own performance. Think about it like trying to grade a test in a language you don't even speak. If you don't know the rules of grammar, how can you possibly recognize your own mistakes? If you don't know enough about a subject, you simply don't know what you're missing. It makes it mathematically impossible to spot your own errors. Here is the trap we all fall into. We assume that if someone is confident, they must know what they're talking about. But we are confusing 2 very different things here. Confidence is just a feeling. Competence is an actual skill. Sometimes they overlap, sure, but very often they don't at all. Ignorance can bring this absolute sense of certainty, while genuine knowledge often brings humility. That's exactly why someone can spout total nonsense with complete authority, while a true expert speaks way more cautiously, because they actually see all the nuance and complexity.
Moving on to part 3, the brain's hidden shortcuts.
Look, your brain is a highly efficient machine. It eats up about 20% of your body's energy while making something like 35,000 decisions every single day. To survive that massive cognitive load, it relies on shortcuts. It just assumes that your current understanding of the world is good enough. And from an evolutionary standpoint, that's great. It helps you act fast, like, say, running from a predator without standing there paralyzed by uncertainty. But in our modern information-heavy world, it's a huge downside. If you never question your underlying assumptions, you just stop learning. Your brain actually starts protecting its existing beliefs instead of doing the exhausting work of updating them with new facts. Check out how this plays out with what we call the beginner's illusion. Look at the first stage. As a beginner, your confidence shoots right through the roof. You learn a couple of basics, and suddenly you feel like a total master.
But then, look at what happens when you become a learner. As your actual skill level grows, your confidence drops significantly. Now, you aren't getting worse. You are just finally seeing the massive complexity of the whole thing. You're realizing how much you don't know. Ironically, getting smarter makes you feel less certain. That drop in confidence, that is exactly what actual growth looks like. Then, eventually, as an expert, your skill is very high, but notice how your confidence remains pretty cautious.
This is why true experts rarely give simple black and white answers. They say things like, well, it depends, or there are exceptions, or the data is mixed. A lot of times we mistake this for weakness or think they don't know what they're talking about. But actually, scratch that. It's the exact opposite. It's the ultimate hallmark of expertise. The more you learn, the more you understand the limits of your own knowledge. Real intelligence means being totally comfortable with nuance and uncertainty.
Okay, let's look at part 4, the social media trap. So, our brains already suffer from confirmation bias. We actively hunt down evidence that proves we're right, and we just completely filter out anything that proves us wrong. But what happens when you throw modern algorithms into the mix? It's like throwing gasoline on a fire. Social media algorithms are designed to keep you scrolling, and the easiest way to do that is to feed you content that validates what you already believe. You get surrounded by people who agree with you. Then the likes, the shares, the comments, they act as immediate social proof, constantly reinforcing your beliefs. This creates this massive echo chamber where your confidence just explodes, growing way faster than your actual understanding. This is exactly why online debates get so incredibly toxic. Everyone feels absolutely certain, and literally no one is willing to budge. Finally, let's wrap things up with part 5, the power of humility.
The good news? You can actually train yourself out of this trap. One of the strongest signs of real intelligence isn't having all the answers, it's asking better questions. You can practice intellectual humility by forcing yourself to ask these 4 questions every single time you feel 100% certain about something. First, what specific evidence would I need to see to prove me wrong? Second, have I actually looked at the strongest opposing argument or just a really weak version of it? Third, am I just feeling confident or do I have actual verified knowledge here? And lastly, what don't I know yet? People who ask these questions are willing to change their minds. They seek out feedback because they know the learning never actually stops.
As we finish up this explainer, I want you to remember that your brain is incredibly powerful, but it is also a master at hiding its own mistakes from itself. But the more you understand these hidden biases, the Dunning-Kruger effect, confirmation bias, that whole beginner's illusion, the more open you become to real, genuine learning. Because real intelligence is not about being perfectly right all the time. It is a state of constant curiosity. So, I'll leave you with this final thought. Next time you feel that sudden surge of absolute, unquestionable certainty, just pause for a second. Ask yourself if you're willing to be a student again. Stay curious, check your confidence at the door, and remember that the smartest minds out there never, ever stop learning. Thanks for joining me today.